The stories of the Qur'an, the unfolding beauty of Yusuf Joseph Al-Salm, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to Sufi Essence. Among the stories of the Qur'an, none is described by Allah as the most beautiful of stories. This is the tale of Prophet Yusuf Joseph, peace be upon him. A narrative so complete and profound that it contains every human emotion and every spiritual lesson. It is a story that begins with a dream and ends with its ultimate fulfillment, spanning decades of patience, betrayal, temptation, and the triumph of forgiveness. It is a masterpiece of divine storytelling that reminds us that Allah's plan is always at work, even in our darkest moments. Today, in this extended script, we will journey through the life of Prophet Yusuf al-Salm. We will witness his childhood dream, the jealousy of his brothers, his incredible endurance through trials, and his eventual rise to power, all culminating in a moment of ultimate mercy. The story of Yusuf al-Salm is a spiritual lesson for every soul that has ever known pain, teaching us that Allah's decree is always filled with perfect wisdom and beautiful justice. Part 1. The Dream and the Jealousy of the Brothers. Our story begins with a young boy, Prophet Yusuf al-Salm, who had a dream. He saw the sun, the moon, and 11 stars prostrating to him, and in his innocence, he shared this dream with his father, Prophet Jacob al-Salm, his wise father. Knowing the profound spiritual meaning of the dream, cautioned him not to tell his brothers, for fear that they would plot against him out of jealousy. But the seeds of envy had already been sown in their hearts. Consumed by jealousy and a misguided sense of superiority, his brothers conspired to remove him from their father's favor. Their initial plot was to kill him, but their cruelty was softened by a suggestion to instead throw him into a dark, abandoned well. They took him on a false outing, and there they stripped him of his shirt and threw him into the depths of the well, leaving him to a fate they believed would be his end. They returned to their father with a blood-stained shirt, claiming that a wolf had devoured him. This act of betrayal was a profound test for the young Yusuf, but it was also the first step of a divine plan, a journey that would turn his pain into power. Part 2. From slavery to the prison of honor by the divine will of Allah, Yusuf was not abandoned in the well. A passing caravan rescued him and took him to Egypt, where he was sold as a slave to the chief minister, a man known as Al-Aziz. In this new home, Yusuf grew into a man of incredible beauty and noble character. It was here that he faced his most profound trial, the temptation from the wife of Al-Aziz. She, captivated by his beauty, tried to seduce him, but Yusuf, armed with the fear of Allah and the strength of his faith, resisted. He ran from her, seeking refuge in Allah, and was caught at the door. Her deception led to him being falsely accused of a crime. Faced with a choice between his innocence and the whispers of temptation, Yusuf al-Salm chose a different path. He asked Allah for a way out, and the result was his imprisonment. He famously said, "My Lord, prison is more to my liking than that to which they invite me." He chose the hardship of prison over the stain of sin, a powerful lesson in virtue and the strength of a soul, truly surrendered to its creator. Part 3. The gift of interpretation and the call to Tawhid. Yusuf's time in prison was not a period of despair. It was a period of spiritual ascension. Even in confinement, he remained a man of integrity and service. He interpreted the dreams of 2 fellow prisoners, a baker and a cupbearer, with such accuracy that his prophetic gift became known. He seized this opportunity not for his own gain, but to call them to the oneness of Allah, telling them to worship none but Allah. Years passed, and the king of Egypt had a perplexing dream that none of his advisors could interpret. The cupbearer, now free, remembered Yusuf's gift and brought him to the king's attention. From his cell, Yusuf al-Salm not only interpreted the dream of prophecy of 7 years of abundance, followed by 7 years of famine, but also provided a solution. The king, astounded by his wisdom, released him from prison and offered him a position of authority. Yusuf's al-Salm patience, his faith, and his divine gift had finally led him out of the darkness and into the light of immense power, all by the perfect plan of Allah. Part 4. The grand reunion and the beauty of forgiveness. The famine that Yusuf al-Salm had predicted eventually came, affecting not just Egypt, but the surrounding lands, including the land of his father and brothers. One by one, his brothers came to Egypt seeking food, not recognizing the powerful minister they stood before. Yusuf AS, in his newfound authority, orchestrated a series of events that would bring them to the truth of their past actions. The final reunion was a moment of profound emotion. When his identity was finally revealed, his brothers stood before him in shame and fear. But Prophet Yusuf AS, who had endured decades of loneliness, false accusation, and pain, stood before them with a heart full of forgiveness. He said, "No blame will there be upon you today. May Allah forgive you, and He is the most merciful of the merciful." He was reunited with his parents, and his dream was finally fulfilled. With his family prostrating before him, not as an act of worship, but as a recognition of his prophetic status and the culmination of Allah's magnificent plan, this is the ultimate lesson of the story, that forgiveness is a divine quality that can heal the deepest wounds and restore what was broken. Conclusion: the story of Yusuf AS is a timeless lesson in patience, virtue, and the power of divine forgiveness. It teaches us that no matter how much we suffer, Allah is always with us, turning our trials into blessings and our pain into purpose. May we all be blessed with the same patience and virtue as Prophet Yusuf. In this reminder, we explore one of the most striking, recurring stories in the Qur'an, the story of Yusuf AS, how moments of fear become divine lessons in trust, surrender, and true tawakkul, reliance on Allah. What does this story teach us about handling jealousy and betrayal? Does Allah turn a moment of immense pain into a position of immense power? And what can we learn from Yusuf AS about the beauty of ultimate forgiveness? This talk is a heart-touching reminder that sometimes what we fear most is the very thing Allah uses to strengthen our faith. Watch, reflect, and share. Subscribe to our channel for more beneficial content.